How the rich pay zero taxes legally. How is it possible that billionaires can live in mansions, fly private jets, and spend millions every year, but legally pay almost no income tax? Today, we read breaking down the strategies that the ultra-wealthy use to protect and grow their wealth while paying little to nothing in taxes. And we'll do it step by step, using real examples, simple math, and a look inside the system itself. Because the truth is, the tax code wasn't written for workers. It was written for owners. Part 1. How most people get taxed. Let's start with how you and I earn money, the normal way. You go to work, you earn a salary. Say you make $1 million. Congratulations, you're doing great. But here's the problem. The government takes a big chunk of that in income tax. Depending on where you live, that could be around 40%. So you're left with about $600,000. Income tax is the single largest source of revenue for most governments. But it hits workers the hardest, people who trade time for money. Now, there's nothing wrong with earning a salary. But if you want to play the wealth game, you have to stop earning like an employee and start earning like an owner. Part 2. The less tax way. Rich people don't want salaries. Salaries are taxed at the highest rate. So what do they do instead? They take ownership, not income. Let's say instead of taking a $1 million salary, a CEO receives $1 million worth of company stock. On paper, they haven't made any cash income, so there's nothing to tax yet. When they eventually sell that stock, they pay what's called a capital gains tax, usually around 20% to 25%. That's almost half the rate of income tax. So instead of keeping $600,000 like a normal worker, they might keep $750,000. This is why you often see startup founders and executives choosing stock options instead of cash compensation. They're not just betting on the company, they're also optimizing for taxes. These billionaires don't take giant salaries. In fact, some of them famously take just $1 a year. Their real wealth comes from stock ownership, not paychecks. But even that's not the final level of the game, because there's still one more way, and this is where it gets genius. Part 3. The no-tax strategy. This next part is where the rich unlock God mode on the financial system. It's called the buy, borrow, die strategy. Here's how it works. Step 1. Buy. They buy assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, things that grow in value over time. Step 2. Borrow. Instead of selling those assets and paying capital gains tax, they use them as collateral to borrow money from the bank. They might take out a $5 million loan secured by their shares. They spend that loan money like it's income, buying homes, cars, even funding new investments. But here's the trick. Loans aren't taxable. The IRS doesn't treat debt as income. On paper, this person hasn't earned a dime. So now they're living tax-free, and their assets keep appreciating. And finally, step 3, die. When they pass away, their heirs inherit the assets with something called a stepped-up basis. That means the value resets to the current market price, wiping out all the previous capital gains. In other words, decades of growth and appreciation completely untaxed. That's the buy, borrow, die loop. And yes, it's 100% legal. Part 4. Real examples. In 2021, leaked IRS data revealed that some of the wealthiest Americans paid zero federal income tax in certain years. Why? Because they didn't earn income, at least not in the traditional sense. For example, if your net worth increases from $1 billion to $2 billion, that's technically a gain. But it's not income unless you sell. So no taxes owed. These individuals live off loans, leverage, and appreciation, not paychecks. Their lifestyle is financed, not earned. Banks love lending to them because they're rich on paper and the loans are secured by valuable assets. So while the average person borrows to survive, the rich borrow to stay untaxed. Part 5. Why the system rewards owners. You might be wondering, how is this fair? Why does the system let this happen? Well, the tax code is designed to incentivize certain behaviors. Governments want people to invest in businesses, real estate, and innovation because that creates jobs and economic growth. So instead of taxing ownership heavily, they tax income, which mostly affects workers. The result? The rich get richer not just because they make more money, but because they understand the rules of money better. Part 6. How you can apply this legally. Now, unless you own millions in stock, you can't just walk into a bank and borrow like a billionaire. But you can start using the same principles. Here's how. Key cap 1. Own assets. Invest in stocks, real estate, or a business. Ownership is where wealth is built. Keycap 2. Think long-term. Avoid selling too often. Holding investments lets you defer taxes. Keycap 3. Use good debt. Leverage for assets that appreciate, not liabilities that depreciate. Keycap 4. Learn the rules. Study how taxes work, because once you understand the game, you can play it smarter. You don't have to be a billionaire to think like one. The difference between being rich and staying broke often comes down to financial literacy. So, now you know how the rich pay no taxes legally. They don't evade taxes. They avoid them by design. They earn differently, spend differently, and invest differently. And until you learn to think like they do, you'll always be playing the wrong game. If this video opened your eyes, drop a like, share it with a friend, and comment below. Do you think this system is fair or broken? And if you want to learn the next level of this strategy, check out my video on how billionaires use debt to build empires. You won't believe what's possible once you understand how money really works.